everybody. So my name is Sharina Shahrin, and I'm a visual artist. For those who don't know what that means, it means that my full-time job is to create art in different shapes and forms through different mediums. It can be through painting, sculpture, installations, clothing, and everything else in between. A lot of people have asked me if I've always known that I was going to be an artist. And in retrospect, yes, I did. Growing up, I was moving around countries every 2-3 years because of my dad's job. So we've lived in like 11, 12 different countries. And I'm going to share a photo of my yearbook. Terrible photo, but I thought I'd share with it because at the end of this little artist bio, I remember the assignment was we had to write a story about a cat named Tara, and this was my artist bio. And at the end, I said, when Aza is grown up, she wants to be an artist. So expression was always a big part of how I communicated. You can ask anyone in my family. I would put on fashion shows, no one asked for them. I would perform, I would make cards. And I think as children, everyone did this. Everyone drew, everyone painted, everyone was crafty and get their hands dirty. But as we get older, this form of expression is explored less and less. And I've always wondered why. Like, why did we stop doing these things that we could express ourselves with? These nonverbal things, right? And I think I've been very fortunate enough to have a very supportive family. When I was about to enter university, my parents were like, what do you want to do? I was like, I think I want to do fashion. And for any Asian parent, it's like a nightmare, right? Like, who wants their child to do fashion? But my parents are very supportive, and they knew that I just loved any form of expression. So I was in London, and I spent 3 years there. And those were very formative years for me because London is a place where anyone can be anything. Like, there's no such thing as too crazy or too wild. Like, if you weren't dressed weirdly, no one would look at you. So I think being young, and that was like the perfect environment to just absorb my surroundings. I would go to exhibitions and galleries, listen to my favorite artists talk, and that made such an impression on me. I remember I went to a gallery called the Tate Modern, which is my favorite ones, and when I was looking at a Picasso painting, there was like little kids in front of me. And it was actually their school trip. And they were probably 4 or 5 years old. And I'm like, wow, how lucky are these kids to be able to see one of the greatest artists of all time? Like that access is a privilege. And I was like, Malaysia really doesn't have that. Like, we don't care about art education the way other countries do. And I always saw that as a problem. So after my second year, about to enter my third year, I called my parents and was like, I think I want to quit university right now. And they were just like, okay, and what is it that you want to do? I think I want to pursue art right now. And they're like, okay. I don't know, it's whether I was convinced enough or I was just very confident in what I was doing, but somehow, I don't know what possessed them, but they said yes. They're like, okay, come back to Malaysia and we'll see what we can do. And this is when I came back and I opened up a studio called Everyday Studios. And the concept behind this actually came from my dad, where he always asked a simple question, like, what is your intention? And I think it's a very simple question that, if you're ever in an internal conflict, ever deciding between two things, you need to ask yourself, what is my intention with what I'm doing? And when he asked me this, I was like, I think my intention is to make art accessible for everyone. Because I've gotten the privilege of seeing all these amazing things. How can I give back to the community that I really want to see thrive? So I opened up Everyday Studios with that one intention, and I think this is when I found my voice. So I found my voice, I found my idea. So how can I amplify that voice? And I did this through doing art exhibitions, I was doing commission work, but most importantly, I was doing a lot of workshops. And I was approached by different brands and companies, everyone from conservation NGOs to autism with children to charities, and all these different people. Meeting all these different people was such a privilege for me as well, because that's when I realized that Malaysia was really missing art as a vehicle for change. We weren't valuing it enough. And I saw myself as, hey, maybe I can facilitate in helping this happen. Because there's this untapped demographic that are so young and so expressive and have so much to say, but maybe they just don't have the means to say it. And especially for art, as I think the previous speaker has spoken about, how art therapy is really important for a lot of, let's say, children who go through trauma, refugees. And that's when I realized that this is where I found the most fulfillment in my work, which was through this engagement with my community. I also co-founded a group called Safe Space, which is also a platform for women. And it started by my friend deciding that women didn't have the space to really talk about taboo topics in Malaysia, which we have a lot of in society. It can be religion, it can be sexuality, it can just be personal issues. And we thought, why not create a space where we can do that? And we use arts and crafts as the main vehicle because it's a nonverbal activity, one thing. And the second thing, what I've realized amongst my years doing this is that when people are, let's say, drawing and painting, I think slowly they start to like lose their inhibitions and lose that wall that they've had, barrier. And what I really enjoyed with using Safe Space was like we had women all across Malaysia come from Terengganu to Johor, and they would come to KL for a 3-day retreat and be a part of this amazing family. We also got amazing sponsors to support what we did, anyone from Vans to Urban Decay. And I think realizing the power of what we were doing, we were like, we can't just stop here. Like, we need to continue. We can really make a change in what we're doing. And it was just me and my one friend. That's just 2 girls reaching out to women online and really seeing how impact should both be online and offline. It's great to talk about important topics online, but most importantly, how are you having that face-to-face conversation? How are you making that connection? And that's what art is about. To me, art is about expressing yourself, is about connecting to one another, but it's also a way to tell your story. And I think through these workshops, I realized this is how I'm giving other people the opportunity to tell a story that they didn't have the opportunity to tell before. Just over the weekend, we had an amazing event which was about sexual assault and sexual harassment awareness. When we were doing Safe Space, we were actually contacted by a sexual assault survivor, and she said, I love what you're doing with your platform. Could you help me create an event? And we're like, of course, like this is a no-brainer. This is like the grassroots level of how you can really make an impact and change the community by providing all these resources. And we had an amazing panel of speakers. We had women in law enforcement, in legal aid, NGOs, to talk to a group of 20, 30 women about sexual harassment, and not just if it happens to you, but what if it happens to someone we know? As women, I think everyone has had an instance where you've either been sexually harassed or, and I think in Malaysia is a really prevalent issue that no one really wants to talk about. And I think it plagues a lot of women. I myself have had all my own personal experience with it. So being open to discussing these things, and this is how we're really going to change the community and be a catalyst for change. And at the end of the session, we had a little painting session, which was amazing because I told all these women to just paint their feelings or paint words or see how you can just express yourself through color. And they had such an amazing time. And that's when I also realized that art is not just about galleries, which is what I also do, but it's also about how can you participate, how you can connect with someone else. And that's an important part of what art doesn't get enough exposure on, because I think art is a very exclusive thing. People think, oh, you're born an artist, or if I don't know about art, I can't go and enjoy this exhibition, and that's not the case at all. I think I've been very privileged enough to have this amazing support from my family and friends, and also have the means to have access to all these amazing things. And I understand that privilege, but I think more importantly, I understand that I have a bigger responsibility to give back to the community that I want to impact. This is actually a screenshot of my father's comment on Facebook on one of my paintings. And it says, never fully understood the squiggly lines and broad strokes, but I love it anyways. And this goes to show that people may not actually fully understand what it is that you do and what it is that you're passionate about, and they can never fully understand that what drives you. But I think just having those little moments of support, if it's words of affirmation, if it's showing up to your exhibition, or if it's just sharing the event that you're going to do, that means the world to us. And I think for us, we need to be able to give back to other people that don't have that voice as well. So if you're ever at this crossroad in your life, with most of you you're still in university and you're trying to decide, what can I do? Like, what is my mark that I want to make on this world? Like, think about what impact you have on the community. Think about 3 things. Number 1, what is my intention? As I said before, it will answer a lot of your questions for you. The second thing, find your voice and figure ways that you can amplify that voice through your actions, through your deeds, by connecting with other people. And number 3, to be a vehicle of change, you really can't be afraid to just take the leap. Thank you.